Hi, my name is Mwangi Wajumbi. I'm a management consultant, trainer, writer, and researcher. I work with Newtimes Business Solutions. Newtimes Business Solutions is an enterprise and human capital development consultancy firm which started operations in 2005. Today, I'm going to talk to you about money and vocations. Money and vocations is an interesting area of study that, in my case, my talk will be based on an informal research that I have been carrying out since 2007. Now, before I talk about that research, I would like to let you know that I have done a formal research which was on entrepreneurship. That was eventually published in an international journal called Business in Africa Journal way back in July 2007. And the same research enabled me to conceptualize the implementation and disbursement of the Youth Enterprise Fund on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Republic of Kenya. Now, before I go into talking about focus on money and vocations, I would like to highlight some facts that may be interesting, which are affecting our nations, they are affecting our organizations, they are affecting us as individuals. And one of them is that poverty levels in our country are 40%. That is people who cannot make $1 a day, according to World Bank figures. 2, unemployment accounts for 42% in our nation. 3, our economic development levels or growth rate, economic growth rate is actually less than 5%. That is a bigger picture. The smaller picture is that 40% of employees, or 2 out of every 5 employees, are disengaged with their workplace. Yet they are still working there. Another one is that employees use 40% of working time on unproductive activities, especially guided by the social media. Another fact is that demotivated staff exploit only 10 to 20% of their potential, their performance potential. What happens to the rest? Of course, it goes to waste and it can never be recovered. Organizations spend 60% of their budgets on emoluments, staff emoluments. Lastly, 90% of the population anywhere does what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is doing. So maybe it is not anybody's fault that these things are happening. But can they be rectified? Can we improve on them? Let's see from our discussions. Now, before I talk about the informal research, I would like to share a personal experience in life which I have been narrating to my training delegates, and it imparts some shade in some way, and it's about flying, my flying experience. Early in the new millennium, I used to be a frequent flyer. I used to fly to Dubai, UAE, then back to Nairobi. And I was doing this many times. But on one occasion, when airborne, in the corridors of the plane, I happened to have met the pilot, who actually was known to me. We used to meet in social circles. So he also recognized me, and we had some discussions, and eventually he invited me to the cockpit. And he showed me how they operate the plane, how it works. And it was great because that time it was easy to go to the cockpit. Today it's not. Things have changed. It's now a private place. But at least I have the experience to share. And the experience is that I noticed very many LED blinking lights in the cockpit. And of course you know that red indicates danger. So when I saw danger, I asked the pilot, what are these red blinking lights all about? And he said, don't worry, they are the faults in the phone, in the plane, but we are aware of them. Don't worry, you get to Nairobi safely, we are aware of them. But that answer was not satisfying to me. I went and sat down, a disturbed person, but eventually we ended up in Nairobi. But after that flight, I realized that I developed something called flying phobia, fear of flying. I never flew again for a long time. But I couldn't stay without flying forever. So when I was about to fly again, I actually decided to carry out a research so that I can determine or understand what the LED blinking lights of that first time or that last time were all about. And what did I find? Very interesting resource indeed, which I was never thinking about when I was flying the first time or during the early millennium. Let me emphasize here that change starts with an individual. And when change starts with an individual, the measure of change anywhere is also the individual. And many individuals actually make a team. When many individuals make a team, many teams make organizations. And many organizations make nations.